What's up, everybody, and welcome to Moments with the Mobleys. I am your man, Johnnie Mobley Jr. I said, I am your man, Johnnie Mobley Jr.
And I'm his wife, Deirdra.
And we something like an ordinary couple.
With extraordinary purpose.
Don't try to sing now, Joker.
Greetings, salutations, accolades, and blessings. You like that version?
Yeah, that was nice.
That was all right?
Mm-hmm.
You like that for real?
That was nice.
Okay.
So,
wait then.
Okay.
Since you like that.
Uh-oh.
Greetings, salutations, accolades, and blessings.
You got to do it again.
Mm-hmm. I'm ready.
So, today, we talking about, I want to talk about perspectives and how that works, not only in individuals, but in a marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I know we've talked about perspectives before, but I want to come at it at a different angle because
From a different perspective. You like that? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, from a different angle, perspective, from a different angle, because a person's perspective is their truth based on their life and what they've lived. And a lot of times, if your perspective has a lot to do, and it's hard to tell, it's hard to change or hard to tell someone that their perspective is not their truth because they actually lived it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there are unhealthy perspectives that can be embedded in you, and which causes trauma. And then what you'll find yourself on is a trauma loop, because it doesn't matter what situation, what person, what is given to you, because you're stuck in your perspective. Any opportunity that you're giving, you still cannot progress through it because you're in the trauma loop based on your perspectives. And I don't want to, the last thing we want to do is diminish anybody's perspective, because you've lived your life from a child, environment, everything. And when you get to a certain place in your life, all that stuff is real to you. And your perspective is how you see through your lens, of course. So it has a lot to do with what you believe in your mind. So, just want to talk a little bit about that, because in counseling, when we do counsel, a lot of times the spouses, the husband and wife, have different perspectives, and that's one of the main reasons they can't communicate and get on the same page, because their truth is their truth, and you don't want to compromise in anything, because in your head that is your truth, and this is the best way you found to cope with it, and it changes what you actually see, like physically see. And that's tough to do. That's tough to do, but the perspective has to change. So, we're gonna talk a little bit about perspective today. Perspective more targeted to in a marriage. And perspectives in a marriage, and how it can be turned into a perspective as one and not just individuals. And I don't want people to take that as we're individualizing, but we taking away your individualism. Is that a word?
Individualism. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So individualism, because a lot of people get overwhelmed and get anxiety because they feel like once they get in a marriage, then I ain't gonna never be, have my time to myself, and I always got to do this for, my wife and my kids or my husband, and I always got to do this, and I just don't never have time to myself. And that's not what we're trying to do. But there is a way you need to function when you're married. It is a lifestyle, and it's not bad if you really want to be married and and raise a family. It's not bad at all. So the perspectives need to change. So, honey, I'm gonna let you go ahead and do your thug thizzle. I don't know why I said that. I
I
don't
do
know why I
thug
said that.
thizzleness.
Every now and then you got a little thug thizzle with you.
I
But
do.
yeah,
Oh,
you
okay.
don't know that. You
I
know that.
Yeah, I think everybody got a little gang in them, and I think the word was individuality.
Individuality,
That's
not
it.
individualism.
Individualism.
Yeah, we're not trying to add
Individuality.
those isms and schisms to your life.
So of course we're on one of our favorite sites because when the man of God said that he wanted to talk about of course the title he just gave you about perspectives, especially in marriages, we have been I feel like we've been talking about perspectives a whole lot with a lot of our couples lately.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's just
and
us getting to
so
a root of a thing.
yeah,
Because you got to peel back the layers when you're doing counseling. So a lot of people feel like the layer stuff is what they're actually going through, but it's they're dealing with a core thing, whether it be trauma or whatever it is. They're dealing with a core thing. So we have to get down to the core thing of it before we can. The layers is just what come up. That's what come about because of it. So
yeah, and so I found some things that we'll share. Of course, some things that we've been doing, but we also share
I'm about to drink
from
all this.
um,
I
from
usually
an
have water. I got juice today. It's
article we
good.
he gonna be real hyper tonight, y'all, on marriage.com, and it talks about the different perspective. Well, actually, it says how perspectives helps your relationship grow. Of course, that's gonna always be contingent upon um, if you're sold out to it, or if you just press in and really um care that your partner has a different perspective,
Yeah.
right? Um, it- this says the article starts like this. It says, "Think for a moment about the last time you had a big argument with your spouse. What was your mindset? Were you right and your spouse was wrong? Was it that cut and dry?" And so they go on to further want to explore their perspectives. Um, it says there are a lot of fun expressions that we hear about when we get to talking about perspectives. One that's heard often is "my perspective is my reality." However, you need to understand the difference between perspective and realities, right?
Yeah.
Do you want me to go on and say give a brief synopsis of what perspectives are?
Yeah. And let me just say this real quick.
Okay.
So your perspective is your reality. It's what you live through, but it's not necessarily the reality. So it's tough for you to make decisions when you always thinking a certain thing's gonna happen. You being content with a lot of stuff. The perspective is this is how it is, and just got to live with that, and we don't do it like that, and it's outside. But what me and my wife has done, and I just like realized this recently, that I have a perspective, and my wife has a perspective, and then we have a perspective for us as a couple. So we have a way we want to move in every area of our life, and the perspectives that I have and she has. That's what the marriage perspective is built from. So it's not like you lose yourself when you're building this. You guys create a perspective for your family, for your marriage, for how you want to move. And a lot of times people stay in their individual perspectives, and that's when the communication gets off, because now you're trying to convince that this way is the best way or this way is the best way, when in all actuality all you have to do is talk about it and y'all decide on the best way. And that's all a perspective is. It's creating. It can be done. It can be done. My wife is an individual. She has a perspective of how she see things. I'm an individual. I have a perspective of how I see things. But we've been together so long, our perspectives kind of are joined in now. So it's like one big perspective now. And it's what we believe in. It's the direction we want to go in. It's the legacy that we want to build. It's all those things. But it's tough for you to do that when you get caught in a trauma loop. And that's a whole nother thing. I'll talk about that we'll talk about that on another time. But go ahead and say what you.
Well, basically, just to reiterate what my husband has already said, is perspectives are the way we see the world as individuals. Also, pulling from what you said earlier, it's what you've lived, it's your values, your state of
Yeah.
mind, any assumptions you may have, but also any baggage that you may bring along with to the relationship from other relationships as well. Whereas reality is different because in reality, we share a form of reality with other people, and of
Yeah.
course, in your marriage, it's shared between you and your spouse. It says, did you ever notice how the more perspectives we get on the situation, the closer then you become to the reality of a thing? So that's what it is.
And me and Deirdre were just talking about this last night. It's so if you want to know where the reality comes into play, you look at the the living out in your perspectives, and then when a reality, one of you make a decision in your relationship, in your marriage, to do something, and then the reality hits. So, for instance, if we just can't, you know, if we just can't get it together, if our perspectives just can't, and most people don't call it perspectives. They say we just can't get along. She don't listen. Well, he don't listen. Well, he don't do this. Well, she don't do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then they say, okay, well, here's where we at. And then all of a sudden, one of them wants to get a separation or gets a divorce. Then the reality comes into play then. And then that's when we want to have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because at the end of the day, you love the person and you love the person, but it's almost like you sabotaging your own relationship because they won't see things the way you see it. And it's the way you see it and there's no other way. And or vice versa. So now you're here. And then when one of you, the husband or the wife, decides, okay, I've had enough. I don't want to do this no more. I think it's best if we just split. Then the reality crashes down on you now. Now it's like, okay, so now that means I have to live my life without her or without him.
Mm-hmm.
And now I got to do the whole visitation with the kids. And, that's something you don't want. And then that's when the reality hits. But and we have always said this, one of the hardest things to do in the world is change. And having an open mind to receive different perspectives is not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
It exposes you to different ways of thinking, but it's hard to do that when you are not healed from trauma and you've created this self of having a trauma, and the trauma loop, like I said, which is doesn't matter what anybody gives you. If they give you more money, more opportunities, more whatever, it always turns out to be the same ending. Like, it doesn't matter what you do, how you do it, it just always turned about. That's a trauma loop. That's something that does not matter. That's something that's in your mind. So you have to be, one, get delivered, get healed, and then you should be able to open up to be exposed to different things, different perspectives. A lot of what I have and the knowledge that I have came from different perspectives. That's what it came from. I tell everybody, I got pillars in my life, and these guys who, when I talk to them, they give me different perspective. And if I'm not sure about a decision or something that I'm going to move on, I'm talking to my wife and I'm talking to my pillars. I'm asking them, because now I'm not sure of this decision that I need to make, whether it's a new area or whatever the case is, and I want input to help me make a decision. So that means I have to take other people's perspectives. I have to take the way they see it through their lens. I'm gonna stop talking. Go ahead. Go ahead. I got a lot I want to say, but I
I
don't.
know you do. It in the article, it challenges us to think about what is perspective taking. So instead of explaining it, they're saying do something a little differently. Go back to the last argument. Maybe think about the last argument that you and your spouse had, right? And so take a moment to try to see their point of view in that argument. In that, think about there are normally two basic questions when you're perspective taken, when you're taking things into perspective. Um, it says you and your spouse it says the two basic questions are at the root of perspective taking. When you think your perspective is a reality, you will often forget these questions. In relationship, this can create unhealthy conversations that look like this. You and your spouse are listening to argue instead of listening to understand, which we use that phrase quite often. We say you're listening to respond and not to understand.
Right.
Basically, which is basically the same thing, because you're formulating in your mind what you're about to say to get back, which is argumentative with your spouse instead of listening to understand what they're saying. Internal frustrations grow for both of you, and then a lot of things remain unsaid. So, how can this help your marriage? In that, they are saying, did you want to share the tips that can help change your conversations in your relationship, especially when you both have take a different perspective on a situation, or something like that. Okay, it actually says one, and we'll be brief on these, and I'll say them, and then you can elaborate on them.
Okay.
Of course, learn to accept what you and your spouse are saying is your personal points of view. Again, perspectives are your personal point of views. You can both be right and be wrong at the same. You can both be right and both be wrong, but it's not about that. It's about listening to each other and working through whatever is at the core of that argument at the time.
Yeah. So let me say this. Me and my wife we created a system that we actually use that keeps us from that area. So our thing is always what has come, whatever the situation is, the subject, something that happened, whatever it is, what has come, and then we both focus on the situation. And then we come up with either a solution, whether that be, we're going to do it this way, that way. She gives her perspective, I give my perspective. Whichever one we see is better for the relationship, we'll make the decision towards that. And then we look at some things, and some things are not even valued to that point to even keep in the relationship. So we just delete it all together. But that's the system that we've created. And I think that's a healthy system, because now you're not in no way, shape, form, or fashion blaming each other or trying to get one person to agree with the other person. You look at the situation, you focus on the situation, and then you both make a decision. You give your perspectives, but it's always what the best solution for the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I can give something that I think is just the best thing for us to do. And my wife gives something that she believes is a good idea. And I can't be so focused on winning that I don't want to make the best decision for the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of times where my wife she said, well, think about it like this. And I'll be like, yeah, that makes more sense. And then we just roll with that. That don't mean I'm less of a man. That don't mean she the leader of the household now. That don't mean none of that. She's my helpmate. So it's a team effort. It's a team effort. So the perspective, that's basically what she was just saying. The perspective, you have to listen to the person and try to see their side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody speaks. It's not a human being on this earth that doesn't speak from their perspective.
Right.
And when they open themselves up to be exposed to more things, then their perspective changes.
Right.
It's not that they don't forgot where they came from, but this is where I'm at now. So my perspective and the way I move has to change.
Right. And also while you're in the midst of that conversation with your husband or wife, your spouse, think about what they're trying to tell you and how could any of it be true from their point of view. Because in essence, like Johnny said, when we talk, I'm trying to hear what he's saying. He's trying to hear what I'm saying. And then I'm not so closed-minded or so, bullheaded that I don't at least sit in the conversation with him to say, okay, well, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're right. That makes more sense than what I'm trying to, do or we trying to in the decision that we trying to make. So absolutely, let's do what let's do it how you said. But for that to even be possible, and then I'm gonna go to the next one.
Okay.
Um. Oh. Okay.
You go.
But if at any rate, that's
So
what
you ain't gonna turn your ringer down.
that's what happens
You gonna act like
when you're
you gonna act
talking.
like that, you don't hear that. You don't hear that
It's
ringer.
it's not a ringer. So we're recording. You want to say hi to the people?
Hi, people. I call so you can see his king.
Oh, I don't think you want me to show the people, so I'm not. But I am gonna show your daddy real quick.
Mm-hmm. He's a prince. He's not quite a king yet.
Well, he is.
He's a king and he's a king in training. Hey man.
He's already a king.
Hey. Hey.
Okay, we gotta
We
go.
on the podcast all the way talking to our grandson.
Exactly, we
You
are.
can show Paige. She can be on the podcast.
Oh, say hey to the people because she's not gonna show him, y'all.
Hey, people.
Okay. All right, we gotta go. Bye. Okay, and so back to what we were saying. So that was the first tip. The second one: be curious about the point of view of your spouse and try to see the world through their eyes. Ask clarifying questions if you need to, which is basically what you just said.
Yeah.
When we're talking. If and basically what I just said as well. So because I am curious, because I already told y'all the man has a beautiful mind, and so anytime we're talking about something, or trying to make a decision about something, he may ask me my perspective on it. I may ask. We can do a lot of that back and forth between each other. Babe, what do you think about this? Or he might say it to me, and we're asked. And I really want to know. So. It's me trying to see how I also asked enough clarifying questions to say, so how did you get that though? How did you get there? How did you come up with that as a, conclusion
Yeah.
to that? How did you get there? And so out of that, sometimes my perspective is even changed. So I'm not afraid to also expand, my I would say my thoughts or my feelings on the subject because something that I may not have known that that may make, what do you call it?
Sway.
Sway.
Oh,
Thanks.
I don't know.
Sway me over. To what you feel about a situation.
Yeah.
And the same for you, right?
Yeah.
So, did you have anything on that one?
No. Well.
Okay.
If go ahead. I'm gonna say something because I
Okay.
wanna. I definitely want to talk about how strong perspective is and how it can change what you actually see. That's the difference between reality. But go ahead.
And so I'll go through this, and if
Yeah.
you got something to say, just tap in. So, answer your number 3. Answer your spouse in a way that lets them see and feel that you can see their point of view in the discussion. Which means as you're communicating, be there, be present, be attentive. To even if you don't, maybe after the conversation is over or as you're going through it, or maybe in the beginning you don't completely understand. That's why, like I said, for me as well as for Johnny, we ask questions to each other. Well, what do you mean, or what do you mean by that, or where, so where did you get that logic from, or what made you think that, or just whatever. You want your spouse to feel that you are attentive and you're listening and you are trying to see it from their perspective.
Yeah.
Number 4, identify the differences in your point of views and name them in the conversation. Identify the differences in your point of views and name them in the conversation. This may provide your spouse with the information they need to better listen to you. Basically, what I just added to number 3. Whatever I need to listen to him to make sure that I'm understanding, and he may say he felt like this, and after, and I think the one thing that we most definitely don't do is, as we're explaining our perspective, we don't interrupt each other.
Right.
We may offer, I might be like, well, can I poke something right in there, put something in there, right there. I'm not trying to put in a comment that's going to try to be argumentative, or you never do that to me either.
Right.
But you might say, well, while you're there on that subject, let me put something right there with it, or whatever. So again, even in this, when listening to each other, make sure that you're including the listening to understand. And, like I said, if you need to just say, well, let me put this right there where that is, or, before you move on, let me ask you about this. Because of course it helps with the forward thinking and actually coming to a solution or, a resolution.
Yeah.
And the last one, do not judge or dismiss the perspectives of your spouse. Remember that although you may not think you're doing this, your spouse may still feel that way based on your reaction, either when they are sharing their perspective, if you're not trying to be attentive, basically with other things we're saying, or if I'm, interrupting you, trying to be combative or argumentative while you giving your perspective, then of course that's going to make your spouse be like, you know what? I'm good. You got it. Because a lot that you'll get the effect, you'll get that response from people and because we are talking about marriages, your spouse, especially if they feel like they just talking and you're not listening.
Yeah.
You will sometimes get that response from them, but you want to make sure that your spouse is being heard, and that you may not think, although you may not think you're doing this, sometimes your actions can say something different from what your words are saying. Yeah, so that's number 5. Go ahead and put into what you needed to.
So the first thing I want to say is, to add to what Deirdra said, not only the way your posture is, but your responses as well when it comes to hearing what your spouse has to say. So here's one of the major things that we hear in our counseling sessions. That is, I don't think that's right. The husband can be saying how he feel, and the wife can say, yeah, I don't think that's correct. So we always say, how can you tell her how she feels? Like, she's telling you how she feels, but you say that's not right. He's telling you how he feels, but you say that's not right. Today, and it's so funny how God does stuff. So today, one of my colleagues, they came in my office, they wanted to talk. And the one thing that she said was, she said, I'm not sure if me and my husband need counseling or not. I just think he's crazy. That's what she said. And I was like, okay. So first thing I said was, well, if you believe he's crazy, it doesn't make you too bright because you married him. So she just looked at me and started laughing. She said, well, you right, you right. So I said, tell me what's
Touche.
going on. She said,
So you gave away.
no, shh.
Oh,
Every
okay.
now and then I drop a little nugget here and there. But this was her whole situation. So her husband had something going on with him that was internally, one of his organs. And it was his liver. And she said, because the doctor said something about that, he always goes to a bad place. So in his mind, his perspective was something is wrong with his liver. It's just nothing he can do to turn it around. Then he literally told her that he had spots on his body because the liver filters a lot of stuff from happening in your body. But when your liver starts go bad, you not only feel bad with aches and pains, but your skin can change color because it's not filtering, it's not working properly. So because he was so much in his mind, he said he saw spots on his body. She said, I took pictures and showed it to him. No spots. So he can see the spots wasn't there in the picture, but when he looked at his body,
her that
he saw spots.
Oh, wow.
That's how strong your perspective can be. It's based on your belief of what you believe is right. And that was so powerful because I was like, that's how people live their lives.
Yep.
That's how people live their lives. They live their lives so much in their head and their perspective is what it is. That's why a lot of people are shocked when they hear something or see something go. They always shocked when me and my wife, when we tell them, yeah, we had infidelity, I stepped out, and y'all still together? That's a shock to them. So a lot of people gravitate to us for a lot of different reasons, but that's one of them. Because however y'all got through it, they're hopeful to see a different perspective, because if y'all did it and then we can see y'all human, then surely we can possibly get through this as well. But the perspectives that you hold on to has to change. And that's one of the hardest things to do. The change is the hardest thing, but the perspective is what holds the change hostage. You can't change if you don't believe it in your head and in your perspective. So if you never open up to be receiving to different perspectives, different people having a great mind and thinking the way they think, then you can't never grow from there. And that's what causes the trauma loop. And like I said, I'm going to talk about that. That got to do with the cognitive mind, and that's right there. It's right there.
It is.
It's right there.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's good.
If you are in something, and I don't care what it is, a career, money, whatever it is, if you are in something and it doesn't matter whether you change jobs, careers, go to school for something else, change cities, towns, everything, and everything just seems to follow you, that's a trauma loop. That has nothing to do with everything else. That has to do with the individual. That means you are operating out of a trauma that happened in your life, and it continues to move. And you believe if you do something, if you are in something different, that it would change. But it's the mind that has to change.
Yeah.
That's what has to change. So it doesn't matter what. And that's what, when it comes to marriage and couples, you believe what you believe, and you're in your trauma, you're operating out of that, and you believe because you have stuff that it changes that, and it doesn't. It doesn't. Me and my wife we a team in everything. Toilet paper, toothpaste, everything. We a team with everything. We buying toothbrushes, we buying cars, we buying tires, whatever it is, we're a team in everything. I discuss everything with my wife. Now, when I say discuss, that doesn't mean that I verbally talk to her, but because we move and we have a perspective, we plan. So I make decisions and then we set it up that way we need to set it up. If we need to do it now, later, 6 months from now, whatever the case is. But it's a perspective that we have that we move on, that we created. And like I said, I didn't even realize that till recently. And in a lot of ways, that was stopped us from getting closer because of the different perspectives. But when we strip completely naked and put everything on the table, then that gave us a chance to build what we have now.
Yeah.
So the perspective is one. We are individuals and we bring our perspective to the table, but at the end of the day, when the Mobleys move, we move, when let me say the Mobleys Jr., when we move as one
Yeah.
in everything.
And we're okay with that, submitting to what's for the greater good than wanting our perspective to win
Yeah.
over the other. And so, with that being said, because as y'all can see, he'll go all night, but we have to wrap it up. Let me conclude by saying this.
Boy, let me tell you something. I'm going to have to
and-
start drinking juice. She always drank the juice doing, I drink water. And I drink water all day. So this is like,
That's giving you a little something in your spirit. You needed it. So
Uh-oh.
listen, of course, that means it's gone. You can have the rest in the bottle.
That was all of it.
Oh, well, I'll get some more tomorrow. Sometimes having conversations is hard because we are humans. And so as humans, when we think that there may be some type of conflict included in that conversation, we think it's sometimes easier to avoid them altogether. But when practice the art of communication and conversation and allowing each other to effectively share um, your perspectives, it helps it to get easier the more you practice it. Um, it really does help. Practice makes not perfection, but progress. Is that what I think I heard that before?
Girl,
It
I
may
don't know
be.
what
If it's not, I just said it, and hopefully that's right. But it says this is something that it said that I wanted to leave with you all. If you keep practicing, having conversations with your spouse and taking into consideration their perspectives, it's going to make your conversations easier, right? And so in that, don't try to change your spouse, but change how you have the discussion instead. And
Yeah.
and that'll change your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So just remember those tips. Go back and watch if you need to that we gave you. But the end goal is to come up with a solution to whatever issue it is that you're talking about. Or sometimes we just have healthy conversations just to get each other's
Yeah.
perspective. It's not necessarily that we have to solve a problem. We just talk about things and we want to get, well, baby, I heard so and such and such. Well, did you hear about that? How do you feel about that? And it just makes, great conversation. It sometimes gives me another aspect, another, position or point of view, just another part of my husband that may not have known, and the same for him,
Yeah.
for me. So, yeah, we just wanted to give y'all those
Yeah.
tips and tools, and that was good for me as well.
Perspective is a person's perspective is one of the most powerful things on the planet. And if you're wise about it, it can definitely be a healthy way that you do it. Everybody had to change their perspective on something to get where they are and to
Absolutely.
keep it.
Because you don't know it all.
Yeah. I'll be the last person.
Okay.
Everybody in my circle, they're knives and they sharpen, including my wife. So when I tell you iron sharpens iron, is not for play. And we have serious conversations. Serious. So that's all I got. A trauma loop. We gonna talk about that.
You gotta tell me some more about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I done been reading and
Amen. Take us on now.
All right. So all things Mobley, www.momentswiththemobleys.com for all things Mobley on all social medias except Twitter. We are
Mobley Moments.
I was about to mess that up. I don't know why I get
Thank
tongue-tied
y'all so
on
much.
that.
Make sure y'all go to YouTube and like and share the page and hit the bell so y'all can be notified when new episodes come out and all that good stuff. Hey, patrons, thank y'all so much. Mob stars, thank y'all so much.
Lord, we got to get some nights out for our patrons.
We got to get some nights out, some behind the scenes stuff.
We got to get some stuff.
I got a text about a date night today, and it blessed my life. And so we are revamping that. I didn't share that because you came right in.
Okay.
And so we need to get that together as well. So just looking for some new things and some things to get some more
tools out there for you guys,
right? And some more resources coming in, so we can do some more things. So we appreciate y'all. We gotta go.
Peace out, y'all. Oh, wait a minute. That ain't the end.
Yeah.
This has been Moments with the Mobleys. I am your man, Johnnie Mobley Jr.
I'm his wife, still Deirdra Mobley.
And we something like ordinary couple.
With extraordinary purpose.
Peace out. You thought I was supposed to say that?
Greetings, salutations.
Oh, you done messed it up.
Accolades and blessings. I did.
That's wrong. That's not what you were doing before.
Greetings.